Welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Friday, November 16th, 2012. Later this morning, the President will be meeting at the White House with the congressional leaders to begin to discuss solutions for the fiscal cliff. Public pronouncements so far have indicated actually that both sides are getting closer to an arrangement that most likely will put the discussion over until sometime in 2013 when a full solution can be worked out. In fact, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the White House has already begun to instruct federal agencies as to what cuts are going to be coming and when they will be coming, and they're apparently not as draconian as the fiscal cliff would require. Stock futures are up right now based on that news. There is some expectation that something will be announced shortly. Meanwhile, more fallout from Sandy. We'll stay on this for the first few stories. The Boat Owners Association of the United States is estimating that more than 65,000 recreational boats were damaged or sunk by Hurricane Sandy, causing about $650 million in total damage. This would make it the single largest recorded loss in the history of American boating. The monetary loss estimate is not the insured damage. Insured damage is probably going to be about half of that, or about $325 million. The association has seen claims from Sandy as far south as Florida and as far west as the Great Lakes. The spokesman said that the claims start getting more significant once you get up north of the Chesapeake Bay. They go all the way up from there on in, some in Massachusetts and some even in Maine. Zurich Insurance Group's CFO, Pierre Wathier, is saying that it's still too early to make any estimates about the damage likely to emerge from Hurricane Sandy that will affect them. They said, quote, "It was a large and complex catastrophe, and we usually take longer with our damage estimates, but they tend to be more accurate." American Financial Group, based in Cincinnati, that also owns the Lloyd Syndicate Market Forum, were able to put some initial loss estimates together. They said that their pre-tax losses, net of reinsurance, will be in the range of $25 to $35 million. This is directly from Sandy. Their disclosure came after Allstate yesterday said that its estimated cat losses for October, which would include Sandy, will exceed $150 million. They said a more precise number was not yet available because they haven't been able to put a number yet to its exposure for Sandy. Allstate's policy is to notify investors whenever an individual month's catastrophe burden exceeds $150 million, which it obviously did here. Also, that number that came out in the wash yesterday was the government's loss, because the National Flood Insurance Program is responsible for flood insurance to public buildings, infrastructure, and also to private homes. They expect to see losses up to $12 billion, which would once again break the NFIP bank. They'll have to go back to Congress for more money. There was a tragic train accident yesterday at a parade that was honoring American veterans. Apparently a Union Pacific train and a van that was part of a parade, actually had a float on board, collided at an intersection. This is in Midland, Texas. It happened yesterday afternoon. That's out in the western part of the state. 4 people ended up being killed. The train from Union Pacific was heading east towards Shreveport, Louisiana. The company has investigated, and they found that the lights and gates at the crossing were working at the time of the crash, and that the train crew had properly sounded the locomotive horn. They're looking now at the video from the camera in the locomotive's cab to try to find out what happened. Well, if you go to Heathrow Airport, you can get on a British Air 777 and you can fly in about 8 hours to Kampala, Uganda. 30 miles south of Uganda now is an Ebola outbreak. 4 people have died. Uganda government, has isolated people associated with those who were exposed. 15 people are now quarantined, and they're racing like mad right now to make sure that the outbreak does not spread. This is one of those examples that, while it's manageable, has to be monitored very closely because it could very quickly enter the mainstream. John Charman is a figure of great fame in the reinsurance industry. He's probably a difficult guy to work with, but he is very, very successful and a very smart guy. He was interviewed by Jonathan Kent in the Bermuda Gazette, the Royal Gazette, this morning, and he talked about his recent ousting at Axis Capital Holdings as an act of monumental betrayal. Mr. Charman founded the company after the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks. He stepped down voluntarily last year after 11 years as the CEO to become the executive director, I should say the executive chairman, and then he ended up being pushed out. Mr. Charman said that as a result of a behind-the-scenes boardroom coup that occurred in late May of this year when he was in a Swiss medical clinic for 2 weeks, he ended up being pushed out of the company that he founded. He said, quote, "Never truer was the expression that when the cat's away, the mice will play." Charman said that 3 senior directors whom he had previously counted as close friends were responsible for his removal. Quote, "One of them had been my closest friend and colleague for over 10 years, yet within weeks he had turned into my greatest betrayer." Possibly he's referring to Michael Butt there, although it's not known for sure. Charman is no longer involved with operating access, although he did note that he and his family are the largest individual shareholders with about a 5% stake in the company. What's Charman going to do now? He's considering leading a takeover of a Bermuda-based insurer with the intention of managing it and diversifying its business. Whatever he's going to do, you can be sure he will be successful. Well, you would think that King Abdullah and Amman Jordan might have gotten the message about the Arab Spring. There have been outbreaks of demonstrations over the past few nights in Amman because of increases in gas prices. Some of the demonstrations have turned violent, yet his police chief said this morning that authorities are going to crack down on those who protest with an iron fist. Opposition groups pledged to continue their demonstrations in the kingdom. One would have thought that the king was a little bit more enlightened than that, but you can probably put him on the list of those soon to be gone.